What's up, guys? It's Richie here with Statifying Football. This is week 1 for the season, 2020 season for college football. It's a weird year with the COVID stuff. There's a lot of teams that aren't playing. There's games not even scheduled yet. They're still scheduling games up to today, up to the last minute. But as far as we know, week 1, it seems to be pretty set. There's only 9 games this opening weekend. But so there could be changes in them. Some of these games could get postponed, whatever. But I'm gonna go ahead and preview what's set up, and we'll go from there. There's 2 Thursday night games. There is Central Arkansas, which is a 1AA team, playing UAB, which is the University of Alabama Birmingham Blazers. UAB, they've had an incredible run under the coach Bo Clark. I've been saying it every year. He's one of the best coaches in the nation. He needs to get a higher paying job somewhere. He deserves it. UAB, they went 9-5 last year. They won this USA West division. They lost in this USA Championship game, but they still got there. And I can explain later on about why it's freaking incredible they even got there the last 2 seasons. They're actually number 28 in the country in scoring defense, 20th in rush defense, 8th in pass defense, and number 8 in total defense. So they've had one of the best defenses statistically in the nation, not in their conference, in the nation the last couple of years. They have 19 returning starters on their team, which bodes really well for them. They're a definite CUSA favorite, maybe fringe favorite for one of those top Power 5 teams, but at the very least a huge CUSA favorite. They got a linebacker, Christopher Mall, coming back. He had 104 tackles and 9 sacks last year. Their quarterback, Tyler Johnson, he's steady. Passed for 2,250 yards, 17 touchdowns, 15 picks. Not great, but still kind of steady. Spencer Brown, he's their running back. He's a really, really good running back. He might be a career running back. He didn't have a great year last couple years, but he is a 1,000-yard rusher from either 2 or 3 seasons ago. So he's a really, really good running back. They have a good wide receiver in Austin Watkins, who had 57 catches, 1,092 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And they also have another outside linebacker to pair with the Mole from earlier, who had 10 sacks. So they have a really good defense, a solid enough offense. In here, they should be able to take care of Central Arkansas pretty easily, especially if UAB has any designs on winning this USA Championship. This one, I expect them to win. Then the other Thursday game is South Alabama Jaguars taking on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. South Alabama is coming off of not a very good season. They went 2-10. They only have 11 returning starters on their team, which is pretty low. Desmond Trotter is their quarterback. They kind of went through multiple quarterbacks last year. He only passed for 820 yards, 8 touchdowns and 2 picks is okay. They have a decent receiving duo with Kwan Baker and Jalen Tolbert. And their top tackler, Mobley, he had 91 tackles. Southern Miss, they're coming off a 7-6 season. They did make a bowl game. They're another team that is good enough to maybe win this CUSA. Jack Abraham, he's a quarterback a lot of people haven't heard of. But the past couple of years, he's been one of the better ones in the nation. He's had a few injuries, but when he's played, he's been one of the top ones in the nation. Their passing game is really good. Last year, they were 19th in passing offense last year. Last year, he passed for 3,496 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 15 picks. So the picks can come down a little bit, but they should still be good with passing. They lost their top receiver back, but they have another one, Tim Jones, 73 catches for 902 yards. They did have the number 37 total defense last year, so they're decent in that. And they have 15 returning starters, which is pretty good, considering. I think Southern Miss should be able to handle South Alabama pretty easily. Or maybe not easily. Southern Miss is not like a juggernaut, but I think Southern Miss should be able to win the game, something like 34-20 or something like that, So those are the 2 Thursday games. Let's jump into Saturday games. The first one in the afternoon is 1AA Eastern Kentucky team against the Marshall Thundering Herd. Again, another CUSA teams. There's a lot of those playing this weekend. Marshall 8-5 last year. Another CUSA, potential to win the CUSA. They have 12 returning starters, 8 on offense, 4 on defense. So their defense will need a little time to get up. Their offense is pretty decent. They have a junior Isaiah Green who started the last 2 years. Last year, 2,438 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 11 picks. They have one of the best running backs maybe in the nation, at the very least in the Power 5, Brendan Knox. He ran for 1,387 yards and 11 touchdowns last year. Outside linebacker, Devontae Beckett, one of the best linebackers in the country, at least statistically. He had 121 tackles last year. He should be in on everything. Very active linebacker. And they have a defensive end and Hodge had 7 sacks last year. So they should be able to take care of Eastern Kentucky, pretty reasonably well. And especially like I said with UAB and Southern Miss earlier, if they want a chance at winning the CUSA conference, then they should be able to get through Eastern Kentucky pretty easily. All right, then the 1:30 game. All right, the first decent matchup of the weekend: Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders playing against the Army West Point Black Knights. Middle Tennessee, they only went 4-8 last year, but there were about 4 games they were in that they only lost by less than a touchdown. That they could have very easily gone to a bowl game, and this is a game where Army they went 5-8 last year, but Army before that they'd gone to like 2 or 3 bowls in a row, and this is one of those games where if both teams want to go to a bowl game, get to at least 6-6 or better to get in. Now the bar might be different this year because I don't know how they're going to do the bowls with COVID. If they are going to do bowl games, how exactly what the threshold will be. But assuming everything stays the same, you got to go at least 6-6 as a team with your record. So this is one of those games where even though it's the first game of the year, it can be really important to either team. Whoever loses may only finish 1 game below that 6th threshold, and then whoever wins this, it might get them right to it by the end of the year. Who knows? Middle Tennessee, though, 11 returning starters, however, 8 are on offense, and they do have one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the nation that nobody's ever heard of. Not even CUSA fans really know about him. His name is Asher O'Hara. Last year, he passed for 2,616 yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 picks, which is really good. He also ran for 1,058 yards and 9 touchdowns. So he's a 1,000-yard rusher as a quarterback. He's a nearly 3,000-yard rusher as a passer. Really, really good dual threat quarterback there. Then Army, they have 13 starters return, which isn't bad. 6 on offense, 7 on defense. They were the number 41 scoring defense last year, 5th in rush defense, and 30th in total defense, which for an academy school, those are really, really strong numbers. They don't usually have very big guys, but they're quicker, they're disciplined, and they play well. The Army runs a triple option rushing attack, which means they basically run it all the time. They were the number 3 rushing offense in the country last year. That tires teams down. This is a pretty even matchup. Middle Tennessee should be able to move it pretty well on offense. However, Rick Stockstill's coaching tenure there, they've always been pretty decent on offense, and with that quarterback, they should do well again. Army, their starting quarterback, he's graduated already, but they kind of plug and play people there, and with that system, with that option game, they can be pretty much anybody, really. This is a really, really even game. I'm kind of torn about who to go for here. I think I'm going to even though it's at Army, it's in New York, it's at West Point, I'm going to give the slight edge to Middle Tennessee State only because their quarterback is more experienced. Army, like I said, their quarterback played their backups did play quite a bit last year, so it could mean nothing that their quarterback's gone, but I'll just give the slight edge to Middle Tennessee. But this actually should be pretty close game right down to the end. All right, another one, Southern Methodist Mustangs from the American Conference playing Texas State out of the Sun Belt. SMU was one of the best teams in the nation last year. They were one of the best Power 5 teams for most of the season. They were ranked for a really long time, one of the best offenses, and they have pretty much everything back. They went 10-3. Shane Buechele, who transferred in from Texas before last year, and I thought he would blow up, and he did. Pass for 3,929 yards, 34 touchdown passes. to only 10 interceptions, and he should be able to do even beyond that this year. They did lose some guys. Their receiver, one of the receivers, he graduated, but they got Reggie Roberson back, 43 catches, 803 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And I believe he wasn't even hurt for a few games, so he should be a 1,000-yard receiver. They have one of the best tight ends in the country. A lot of people don't know about Kylan Granson, 43 catches, 721 yards, and 9 touchdown receptions. So their passing game should be unstoppable. They were number 7 in scoring offense nationally, 13th in passing offense, and number 9 in total offense last year, and they should keep that going. On the flip side, the team they're facing, Texas State, they're really not very good. They're 3-9 last year. They have only 9 total starters returning, 5 on offense, 4 on defense. Their quarterback situation, put it this way, they have a returning starter in Tyler Vitt. He passed for 1,590 yards, 11 touchdowns to 14 picks. Not very good. He even flipped around. They brought in a new quarterback, and that new quarterback will probably start in Tyler Vitt's place. They have a decent receiver, wide receiver Javen Banks, 67 catches, 618 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Their offense, they had a new coach last year, Jake Spavital. He used to be an offensive coordinator, I think, at TCU and I want to say Texas Tech and a few other places that likes to pass it. So the offense that's installed at Texas State, they like to pass it a lot. If anybody's ever seen Mike Leach's air raid offenses at Texas Tech and Washington State, it's kind of like that. So this could be a bit of a fun game to watch just in terms of passing, but I think SMU should be able to handle them really easily. I see SMU winning this one pretty big, and SMU, they could very well be one of the better Power 5 teams in the nation, if not the best one, if they can get past some teams in their own conference. But anyway, I got SMU winning that one. All right, then you got another one. You got Houston Baptist won to play against North Texas. North Texas only went 4-8, but again, there's a couple of games there where they could have gone either way. They could have gotten bowl eligible. They like to pass around a lot too. However, they only have 11 starters returning, and what's worse than that is Mason Vine, who was their quarterback. He set all kinds of records at North Texas. He has graduated, so he's gone. They're starting over at quarterback. Especially early on, they should be able to lean on their running backs. They have a decent running game. Running back Trey Siggers, he ran for 853 yards. They have DeAndre Torrey, who's been hurt, but a couple years ago, he ran for over 800 yards. So they have 2 running backs back that are highly productive. They have a decent receiver in Darden, 76 catches, 736 yards, but 12 touchdown receptions. They like to pass it around there. Houston Baptist, this is a good game for North Texas to kind of get right. They shouldn't have much trouble beating Houston Baptist. Should get their quarterback, whoever they decide should start, to get them going and see what they have for this year. So I'm going to go North Texas there. All right, Arkansas State and Memphis. This may be actually the best game of the weekend. And I'm kind of excited about this. Arkansas State, they went 8-5 last year. Over the last 10 seasons, they're one of the most consistent teams in the country, especially in the Sun Belt. They just go bowl games every year. They usually have really good offenses. In fact, they were 26th nationally in scoring offense last year, averaging over 33 points a game. Number 10 in pass offense, 33 in total offense. Put it this way, they had a quarterback, Logan Bonner. He only played 4 games because he got hurt. In those 4 games, though, he passed for 1,052 yards, 10 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Then when he got hurt, Lane Hatcher comes in, passes for 2,946 yards, 27 touchdown passes to only 10 interceptions in the remaining 9 games. So whoever is going to be at quarterback, they should be set at quarterback for a while, because one of them is a senior. I think one of them will be a sophomore. So for the next 2 or 3 years, they should be set at quarterback. Right, they had a 1,000-yard receiver, Omar Bayless. He actually had 1,600 receiving yards. He's graduated. Kirk Merritt had 1,000 yards a couple years ago. He graduated, but they still have somebody back. Wide receiver Jonathan Adams, 62 catches, 851 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So they have a really solid receiver in him to start off with, and with their passing game, they always have receivers. Their defense, though, they only have 3 returning starters. So they'll be pretty much going with their offense, especially early on. And in this game against Memphis, the past few years have had one of the top offenses in the country, bar bar none. Up there with Ohio State and UCF has had one of the best ones. Memphis is also. Memphis went 12-2 last year. They were 8th in the nation in scoring offense, 17th in passing, and 10th in total offense, and they have pretty much everything back. Brady White, their quarterback, passed for 4,014 yards, 33 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions. Running back Kenneth Gainwell, he was a freshman and ran for 1,459 yards, 13 touchdowns, and he had 51 catches for over 600 yards receiving. And DeMonte Coxey, one of the top receivers in the nation, 76 catches, 1,276 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns. This could really go back and forth with both offenses, the way they're able to move the ball. Memphis has a little bit more talent than Arkansas State. Memphis, they are easily one of the top teams in the Power 5 conference. It'll pretty much go between them and UCF, and they play each other later this year. Arkansas State should be one of the best teams in the Sun Belt as well. This game really could go back and forth. I'm going to go Memphis actually end up winning, but this is one of the games that could go like Memphis winning like 54-45 or something like that. I'm actually really excited for that one. It seems like it'll be a really, really fun game. All right, then the final game of Saturday night, 1AA Stephen F. Austin at UTEP, which is the Texas El Paso Miners. I was struggling with UTEP. I was just struggling trying to find anything really decent to say about them. They only have 7 starters. They went 1-11. They only have 7 starters back, 3 on offense, 4 on defense. They have a decent running game, I guess. And Stephen F. Austin is usually one of the better 1AA teams. Honestly, Stephen F. Austin could win. UTEP, I hate to say it, they're terrible. I'm just gonna if you're a gambler, or if you just want to like seeing these little mini upsets where like a lower division team beats the higher division, this could be your game. I might actually just go with Stephen F. Austin and win. UTEP, there's really not much to say about that. Then the final game of the weekend is actually a Monday night game. It's the BYU Cougars facing off against the Navy Midshipmen. BYU went 7-6 last year. They have 15 returning starters on their team. They actually went through like 3 different quarterbacks last year because they kept getting hurt. Between Zach Wilson, Baylor Romney, and Jaron Hall. They do have one of the best tight ends in the country, actually, Matt Bushman, 47 catches, 688 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I think he's a possible first-round pick for next year's draft. Maybe we'll see. It should at least be a high pick. Navy, they're coming off a really, really strong season, 11-2. They have 13 starters returning, 7 on offense, 6 on defense. They were 12th in scoring offense in the country, the number 1 rushing offense. They have a triple option running game. And they're 19th in total offense. And their defense as well, 34th in scoring defense, 10th in rush defense, 38th in pass defense, 16th in total defense. Unfortunately, they are losing their quarterback, which Malcolm Perry, he's one of the best that ever played at Navy. He actually ran for 2,000 yards last year, and he's their quarterback. I mean, granted, that's what they do. They run it all the time. But he's even still 2,000 yards rushing for anybody. That's incredible, especially if you're the quarterback. They have a middle linebacker is pretty good. Diego Fago, 100 tackles, 5.5 sacks last year. Running back Jamal Crothers, they have multiple running backs. He only ran for 734 yards, but he did have 14 rushing touchdowns, so he's kind of a bigger goal line running back. This is kind of tough for me to pick because both teams, Navy's losing quite a bit, but Navy year after year they're always able to get into a bowl. I don't think they'll win as many as 11, but they should be able to at least get bowl eligible. Whereas BYU, they have a decent team as well. It just depends on, really, to my mind, how the quarterback plays for Navy, whoever they decide to go with. Because BYU, even though they had kind of 3 different quarterbacks going through their games, they're all experienced, especially now, and they're kind of interchangeable. They're not that great, to be honest. This is interesting because this is at Navy. BYU's got to travel all the way from Utah to Annapolis, Maryland. It's a big Monday night game. Navy usually they like to use that offense to keep the other teams down. I'm I'm going to go with Navy with this to grind it out. This might be kind of a low scoring game, but it should still be pretty close. I mean, I can see this game being like 24-20, 21, 24-21, something like that. Maybe last second field goal, maybe last second touchdown or a stop or whatever. But this should be a pretty interesting game. I'm going to go with Navy there. Alright, so there are my previews for the 9 games. Welcome back, football. This year's been crazy, but at least we have a little bit of something to kind of get our minds off of it this week. For COVID, let's see how this week 1 goes. Peace.